Hi folks, good afternoon. It's afternoon here. It's flipping shining through there again. Not the greatest day out, but it is flipping shining through there. And I just happened yesterday to have had my hair done. So it's probably gonna skim over the top of my freaking head. Anyway, let's start with this. Carolina Reaper. Right, video today. This come along because earlier this morning somebody put something online and I answered it, and it was about Goth, and it reminded me of something that I've always thought, and I'm going to put the thought out, and it's not going to be a very happy thing for a lot of people. Some people might agree, some won't, some will have wobbly fits maybe. And it's called Goth The Regenerator. Why? Because something I've thought about for a long time is that Goth has always been yeah, look back in history. You're not going to read Goth. You're going to read Goth if you look at the old band of Goths that was ravaging through Rome and all sorts of bloody things. But we're not talking about them. We're talking about Goth as the subculture. No, you're going to go back in history. You're not going to find that. So in this video, I'm not knocking Goth. I'm not saying it isn't exactly what it is. It is. I love Goth. I totally freaking love it. I live it. So I wanted to look at some perspectives of it, if that's the word. And there'll be a lot of you that either know about Doctor Who, or you've watched Doctor Who, you love it, you hate it, whatever. But one thing you'll know about Doctor Who is he regenerates. So is one doctor, throws a wobbly, turns into another doctor. It's the same doctor, totally new body, outlook, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. I think Goth is very much that. Goth, I honestly believe, has been around since the beginning of time. Not under the name Goth, as I said, but it's always been there. Was it music based in the past? Possibly, I don't know. Is it music based now? Was in the 80s? I think it's now music based plus loads of other stuff that's come into it, which everybody's arguing about at the moment. But I'm going to now try and explain to you where I'm coming from. Lots of people within the Goth community, some are happy with the term darkly inclined. Goth are darkly inclined. There's some people that couldn't care one way or the other. Some totally freaking hate it. Some will say yes we are, others will say no we're not. If you're darkly inclined, you're not Goth. And I honestly believe the two are together. What's the most dominant one? I honestly believe the darkly inclined, and I'll give you an idea hopefully in the next 3 hours of what I'm talking about. I think right from the beginning of time there's been darkly inclined people. So they're all sitting around in the old caves, the old cavemen and everything. They're looking at each other and they go, "Oi, Ugg, come here." Ugg. What? Man, you're bloody different. You're bloody bit dark you are, man. You're not like the others. You're a bit bloody dark in your attitudes and outlooks and all that. Yeah, you're not evil, but you're freaking dark. And come and think of it, them flipping others you hang around with, they're pretty flipping dark as well. What they're saying is you're different to us, you're slightly different to us. I think it happened then. Not particularly like that, they weren't talking bloody English. But I think it happened then. It's happened time and time again through history. Now if anybody wants to look back in history, Google and look back in history at different fads and fashions and what you might call subcultures of the day, look back and see if you can find the darkly inclined ones, because right over history there's the darkly inclined section where people were, excuse that, people were a little bit different to the others, and what made them different was they were darkly inclined. And like I've said, not talking about evil, not talking about doing weird and wonderful things, I'm not saying nobody did, but just different to the run-of-the-mill people. Their views were a little bit different. They probably had lots of, well, they would have had lots of thoughts and ideas and loves and everything of the darkly inclined today. And I think as times moved on, it's been a Doctor Who. It's been there, it's been out in the open, people have loved it or hated it, and then one day it says, "I'm fading away, but I will be back in the next minute." And it's regenerated from whatever it was that had its day into something of today. Now, somewhere in this video, it could be now, but it'll probably be later, I'm going to put some pictures up of people from sort of recent history, like Sarah Bernhardt. In fact, I'll put some pictures of her up now, Sarah Bernhardt. Now I'm putting these up, these ones here. She was well known for being a little bit eccentric, I would say darkly inclined. I would say if you could lift her out of the time period she was, put her into our time period, she'd be the most bloody awesome goth you could come across. But she wasn't born in this time period. And she was well known. She had got her own coffin, had all the flowers around it and everything. She slept in it, she had photographs taken in it. And this is one or two photographs that she'd had taken in it. So there you go. Now that's just a little snippet of Sarah Bernhardt, but if you look her up, look at her life and how she was, like I said, lift her out of that time period, put her into ours, she'd be goth. Why? And why do I say it's been like this over the centuries, since time immemorial? Is because this darkly inclined section of people somehow home in. So if you, every now and then it spreads, but somehow we got this bloody homing signal of something that pulls us in and we find each other again. What's that got to do with goth? I was looking back to the 80s or whatever, and we say, yeah, it's a music-based subculture. Yeah, it is. But looking back, right at the beginning, the bands that were drawn in, and this is Goth, were there. Other people were going, wow, love this, love it, love it. And the early Goths were, love it, love it, love it. And then all of a sudden, changes started coming in, and Goth sort of began its nucleus. That band, this band, that music, pull it in. This is Goth, we're bringing this in to us. This is Goth. So, there weren't such a thing, there wasn't a real Goth music, and then people said, oh, I want to be Goth, so I'm heading for the music. There was music, people evolved into Goth and drew the music they wanted around them, as to which we know what was picked. And so if we look at it that way, and we look upon darkly inclined people, let's forget Goth, because Goth wasn't there at the beginning, but darkly inclined people were. And once something fades off, and the era of Sarah Bernhardt and some of the others of that period sort of floated off, and the war did a lot of that, floated off, and we get to a stage where the darkly inclined's there, and it never stays there, it comes back, it regenerates. And I honestly believe the nucleus of Goth was when darkly inclined started coming back. And even if you look back at that time, the people were darkly inclined. They weren't just everyday people. It's what made them different to other people. The clothes right at the beginning had a darkly inclined feel about them. The music, lots of the music, some wasn't, lots of it had a darkly inclined atmosphere about it. Lots of the lyrics and everything were a little bit darkly inclined and everything. So I really honestly think that that was the time when one doctor was moving out and another one with a slightly different look, slightly different personality, attitude and everything, like each doctor has got, started coming out like that. So you saw one going shh, and then. And whether we like it or not, there's going to come a day, I don't like the idea really, going to come a day when the regeneration that's took place, and we gave it a name and we called it Goth, is going to start glowing and melting away. But as it glows and melts away, another one will come up. What will it look like? Very much the same as it does now. Be a little bit different because time will have moved on, but it will be different. It will be against the main culture of the time. I don't know what it'll be called. I don't think it'll be called Goth 2, but it will have a name. And it'll be dark. And when you look at the people within that subculture, you were there at that time, you could look back at this time at Goths and go, hang on, we're so-and-so, but looking back at Goths, if you flipping, you could pick any one of them up and go plonk into our subculture, and they would be the biz. And that's the way, as long as the earth goes on, that's how it'll be. I think it'll be regeneration. So I don't think that happens with all subcultures, but I think it does with ours, and I think it does because it's got that strain of darkly inclined. Like I said, I cannot think of one goth I know that isn't darkly inclined. And that's got to say something. Darkly inclined people are drawn towards goth. It's not for the name. Oh yeah, I got to have that name. It's not always right at the beginning for the music. They maybe look at the style, what people are doing, their attitudes, what they seem to be. There's people get ideas of what goth is, but whatever it is, they see this glow and it's what they are, and they just automatically get drawn to it. When they're in it, then other things take place. Generally, if you're really darkly inclined and got that modern goth attitude, you will encompass the whole shebang of it. Some people come in and they're in for the clothing, or not always the music. A little bit of clothing, a little bit of music. It's fun, then I look different, and you've seen people yourself, they fade away pretty quickly, very often, because it was a bit of a fad for them. But yeah, so I'm not saying goth isn't what it is now. I'm not trying to knock it on the head and say, oh no, you're all bloody wrong, because you're not. People that talk about goth as they do about goth, totally right. But I also believe that it's very darkly inclined, and the very darkly inclined is a hell of a bloody chunk of it. So I don't think we can really turn around and say, oh look, if you're darkly inclined, you're not goth. You can flip over that side of the room. If you're darkly inclined and this, no, you're not really goth, you can flit over that side of the room. I think, although people don't want to admit it, darkly inclined is probably goth. It is probably the one major factor that pulls us in, holds us together, and like I said, one day it will start glowing and fizzle down, and it will turn into what we call goth today. Different name, music might be a little bit different, but it'll still have the dark side to it. So yeah, if I could find more pictures, I'll put more pictures up of people in the past that if you sort of picked them up, put them in here, be quite flipping happy. They wouldn't go, no thank you very much. They were people of the day that other people looked at like the do-goths, talked about them like the do-goths, stuck them on the outskirts a little bit, generally like the do-goths. And I've always said, I've always said actually, the modern goth is very much the new Victorians, and I'd still stick by that. And I'm not saying that goths, we all go around looking Victorian, but again, I'm talking about the darkly inclined. They were so in their minds and elements, and some people in the clothing and everything, very darkly inclined, very goth. Like I said, you could pick them up, put them in today, I think lots and lots and lots of Victorians would be, in this day and age, more comfortable in the goth subculture than they would in the main culture, because they were very inquisitive, very dark. They were like what I call goths today. I will say about goths, we confront things. If somebody says, what's a big thing about goths? To say, we confront things that other people run away from, which we do. We're quite comfortable with things in the world that most people recoil from. They go, oh, no. Victorians were very much that. They were, if it was a bit weird and wonderful, they were into it. They freaking loved it. So, were they, or part of them, plus some of the people like Sarah Bernhardt and that, were they the forerunner of goth today? And who will we be forerunners to? Because the ones in the future, that said, may have another name and everything. This, as the name goth, will fade down unless they carry on with the name. It will fade down, and the ones of the future might not necessarily accept that we were there before them. The same as lots now going, sorry, we're the first, nobody before us. So yeah, have a think about it. Is goth something that just came into being in, let's say, the 80s? Or was it around long time before? And is it the darkly inclined things that hold us together, keep the subculture going? You think of all the subcultures that have been and gone, yet goth still hangs on. As the other subcultures, they got music and everything, but was there any ropes underneath it, anything that tied them together? So once music come a little bit unfashionable, it sort of died down, where goth seems to keep going. And we got those ropes and that underneath us that keep us tied. And if we have, is that darkly inclined? Be interesting to know anybody that looks at this that says, yeah, I'm goth, if they can say, yeah, I'm goth, but darkly inclined, nothing at all actually. I'd be very flipping surprised. So yeah, that was it in a nutshell. There's a hell of a lot more to it, but I can't go on forever. But yeah, Goth the Regenerator. I think we regenerate, and this is at the moment the regeneration that we're in, Doctor. Another little thing with goth, how many of you came into goth, whether it was right at the beginning of your life, a little bit later, whatever, and said to yourself, I'm home, I'm home? That's nothing to do with because of music. That's because you feel at home. You've been out there and you've suddenly gone, I walk round the corner and there's my house. I lost it bloody years ago. I'm home. I'll be surprised if there's very many that don't see that being in the goth subculture, that they don't feel like they found home again. So on that note, I'm going to have this and you can freaking have fun with it. See you later. Don't forget, I'm not knocking Goth. I'm just giving you an idea where I feel it came from and what it's still doing here and where it's going. Now where's my Doctor Who companion? Don't seem to bloody have one. That one.